Well, hey folks, welcome to part 3 on the Blues Junior rebuild. Got the soldering iron out here, and she's up to temperature, and we're going to pull out these 4 capacitors right here and replace them eventually, but for now we want to just at least remove them and get them out of the way. So you got to look on the back of the board and make sure you have the right soldering point, and you want to do this as quick as you can, but you also want to make sure you get it hot enough so you're not pulling the trace out with the leg of the capacitor. That can happen sometimes. Okay, so, and again, make sure you locate the right point so you know that you're working with the right part here. Alright, so again, sometimes it takes a second to get that old solder reflowing and whatnot, but it will usually loosen up after a second or two. There we go. Okay, so that one's out, and we're going to go down to the next one here. Same process. Make sure you get it really hot though, and don't pull it out until it is completely hot, because if there's solder stuck to the trace, some of that will end up going with it, and you don't want that. Okay. Really in a difficult spot to work with too, but just takes patience and time. Steady hand. The leg of the capacitor is bent. That's why it's coming out so hard, but we'll get there. Okay. That one's out. Now, I'm going to reposition here. And again, I've just got this spread apart enough so I can get in there with my soldering iron and just touch that soldering joint. Okay, there's that one. Keep your soldering iron right on that point the whole time that you're pulling. You don't want to heat it up and then pull your soldering iron away. You want to keep that right on that solder joint, so that way you know it's loose as it's coming through the board itself. Alright, come on now. Okay, this one's just starting to get there. Okay, there's that leg. Got a nice clean hole, so you know the solder came out with it and the trace didn't, which is always a plus. Sometimes it's tricky to line up where the traces were, and these are glued in. We're going to do the same thing when we reinstall these. We'll glue them in and solder the legs back in, so that way nothing can move, because this stuff does get jostled around when you're lugging it to gigs and piling it in trucks. Okay. Really tough spot, but again, you just got to be patient. Keep that soldering tip right on that leg as you pull it through. Okay, it's starting to loosen up now a little bit. tricky. Okay. All right, we got a good nice clean hole through there. That's good. Okay, next one. Again, sometimes it takes a while for this old solder to heat up. Sometimes if you put a little solder on your iron, that will kind of help it get going again sometimes too. All right. Getting there. Okay, I think we're good. Not quite, but okay, that one's out. All right, one more. And we'll be where we need to be. Okay, I gotta reposition this. You know, you could completely remove this board too if you wanted to. I chose not to because I don't really see the need right now. I may have to reposition it when I solder the new ones in. But for now, those are all out. And we can... I marked them too. I put a positive under each one, and the bigger one was marked with a positive, and I just put a negative on each side. Good practice, just so you don't mess up. It's one last little reminder before you solder it in. Okay, so I guess all we could really do right now is probably clean the pots. And we're going to have to wait for the new stuff to come in the mail. And we should be good to go after that. So let's get the cleaner out. We'll clean the pots up. Then I'll probably just put this in a nice bag and seal it up. And wait for our parts. Alright, I'm using Max electronic cleaner here. Works pretty good. It's not as expensive as Deoxit or anything like that. It's a lot cheaper. It's probably like $7 or $8 for a can. And it actually evaporates quite quickly too, so it works good for this kind of stuff. You know, there's no oily residue with it or anything like that. So I'm just squirting some of that in. There's a little hole in the front. There's a few on the sides too that you could work that in there. And just twist your knobs as you do it. Alright. A little in the jack. Okay. Just gonna kind of dump that upside down. Anything else in there that shouldn't be, hopefully will have fallen out. Alright guys, so that's how you take the caps out. Again, you know, it's helpful. You see how I have this, you have light. You know, you can see my hand in behind there. That kind of helps you locate the soldering points too. So that's just a little trick I like to do. And because it's confusing when you look back there, you know, you're looking at that stuff, just a bunch of soldering points, and it can be confusing to try to find where you're actually working on the back side. So just take your time, use a light like this, and that'll help you. Okay folks, so we just got to order some new capacitors, and we can recap this. It's the same process as you just saw, other than, you know, I'm not pulling them out, I'll be putting them in. But same way, and once we get those in, we can probably get the new transformer in there, and I'll spray the tube sockets and clean those out too before we put the tubes in. That'll be the last thing. And just clean up the face plate a little bit. So there we go, guys. We're right into the heart of one right now. Torn apart. We're gonna recap. And a new transformer. You know, all in all, it hasn't been overly difficult. You know, if you've had any experience soldering or anything like that, you could probably handle this. Biggest thing is when you unhook stuff from these circuit boards, you got to be really careful that you get it so it's you know, really molten. The solder needs to be liquefied, so when you pull the component out, you're not yanking part of the trace with it. That can happen really easy. If it gets cold and you pull that out, you're going to make a big split in the trace. So it takes a little practice. You know, you can use a solder sucker too. That works well. Pull the solder away from it. Then it will, if there's a gap around the end of the, you know, all the way around the wire, you have less risk of pulling some of the trace with it. I chose not to do that in this application, but I've been doing this for a little while, and you can kind of tell. You can see it when it's molten, and you can just a slight pressure and a pull on the actual wire, you can feel it unhook. And when it unhooks, you just give it a little extra tug, and it usually comes out pretty clean. So anyway, guys, I guess that's probably as far as we can go on this until we get some parts. And once we get the parts, it shouldn't take us too long to put it back together. You know, it'll take me 5 minutes to put the new the new capacitors back in. And, you know, I'm not sure how long it'll take to change the transformer. I'm guessing it won't be too bad. So, again, I'm just going to take my time as I go, and we'll take it from there. Quite a bit of dirt on the front side of these pots, too. I may clean those up a little better. Well, anyway, guys, I really appreciate your views, and hope this helps. I'm going to spray the switch out too. I forgot about that. Give it a good clean and get some of the dust out of there. That's always good practice too. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll keep you updated on how this turns out, and hopefully we can get it back up in action soon. Be good, and we'll see you very soon. Okie doke.